I'm going to make this video short and sweet. If you're thinking about going from 2 to 3 kids, just don't. No, but seriously, if you're thinking about going from 2 to 3 kids, you are a wild boy or girl, okay? This is not for the weak. Hi, my name is Destiny, and I cover all things holistic motherhood. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you what exactly you should expect when you're going from 2 to 3 kids. Now, I covered some of the changes that occur when you go from 1 to 2 kids in my last video, and I'm not going to go over all of the different specific things that I went over in that video just to keep this one short, but I will go over all things that are different when you're going from the 2 to 3 kids world, okay? I'll tag that video in at the end, and you'll be able to get that information as well. Here is my journey to having 3 kids. So, we had our first kid unplanned, but we were married, but it was still unplanned. Second kid, we actually planned it. Third kid, again, unplanned, okay? We had our first night out in probably 4 months, however many months. I think it was 4 months, yeah. And we had a babysitter, and we had some Jack Daniels, and we went out and did what adults do. And so after that, I got pregnant with my third born at 5 months pregnant. So yeah, that was how we came up with the idea of having our third kid. So we originally said maybe 2 or 3 kids, but life happens and we got 3. So that's how we came about our decision to have 3. I remember before I had kids, I said, max maybe 3 kids. So it was right in line. However, we didn't plan on it happening the way it did. Here's the first con of getting pregnant with a third child. The first con is you are pregnant and you have 2 other children, okay? So you not only get to be pregnant and swollen and have the mood swings and have the nausea or whatever symptoms you may have, but you get to take care of 2 more children while you do that. So don't recommend that. Don't recommend that. If you can space out your kids a little bit better than I did and not have 3 kids under 5, maybe a little bit easier for you. Having a 15-month-old and a baby at the same time, having a big belly and carrying that child, I don't recommend it. 0 stars. Another question that's often asked is, do the kids get along? Well, they do sometimes. I would probably say 60% of the time they're getting along. Everything is fine. They're playing together. You're having all these cute moments. They're making memories, building bonds. Then there's 40% of the time it's practically WrestleMania and a frat party at my house. So I would say it's good and bad, It's more good than it is bad, but there is the bad. So more kids to look after, more responsibility on you, more fights between the kids. You know how this goes. You know how children are at this point. You have 2 of them. So yes, 3 kids, more fights, okay? The difference between these two, having 2 kids and having 3 kids, is in the fights, now we have people taking sides. So before, where you had 1-on-1, 1 versus 1 equal, they're either playing together or they're not, separate. Now people take sides. So you might have 2 say, hey, let's do this. And 1 says, well, I want to do this. And now you have conflict. So this one doesn't want to play with me. And this one said they don't want to play with me and they don't want to play fair. They want to play their own game. They're making up their own rules and a lot of that. So it's not equal. And people tell me all the time, that's why you have to have 4. Well, it's like, well, I am not going to find that out. But either way, now you have an unfair playing field when it comes to the children and how they interact. The best advice that I've heard with this is you're basically going to act as a referee. So your child comes to you with a problem. Benjamin hit me. Okay, Benjamin, why are you hitting them? They say, oh, because he took my toy. Okay, why did you take your toy? And you're just doing this little back and forth in between them. You kind of can't get in, in their discussions. You kind of try to let them figure it out as best as possible. Sometimes you just have to lay down the law, and you just like, hey, this is what it's going to be. But for the most part, you kind of try to say, hey, y'all work it out. Y'all figure it out. Y'all kumbaya together. And that's always fun. All right, like I mentioned in the last video, finances are a big consideration for many people when it comes to having kids, and you're adding another bill. Well, not only you have daycare, school costs, etc., you also probably will need another car. Yes, we had a Highlander when we got our second child, and we were like, oh man, this is plenty of space. We'll be fine. Then somehow we got a third child, and so it was like, oh man, this was a lot of space, and it kind of is now, but not really. So consider you might have 2 car seats. So if you have a regular sedan where you have 2 car seats and a third, well, the third child is in the middle and they're cramped against the other 2. Now, if that's all you can do, hey, that is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with it. But I got in a car accident one time, and I had to get a rental car, and all we had was the second row. We didn't have a third row to space the kids out. And in that brief time period of when I had that rental car, my 3 kids in that row, all they did was touch each other the whole car ride, every day, all day long, every 5 seconds. Oh, such and such is touching me. Oh, they took my toy. Oh, they're too close. Oh, someone put their foot on my head. That's all I heard the whole car ride. There was no peace. So just keep in mind, you might want to budget for a bigger car. I refuse to be a minivan mom, and that is probably the best thing that you could ever buy with 3 kids. But I don't know. I'm just too cool for that. But nothing wrong with it. If you love it, I like it. If you like it, I love it. There we go. So just know you're going to budget for probably a bigger car because you're going to be cramped. And side note to that is that we like to garden and we like to have little house projects. So with having 3 kids in the car, there was no room for anything else when we had a smaller vehicle. So now we have a bigger car, and we can do all the things and carry our mini kids with us. So here's the worst thing of having 3 kids to me, which is all of my babysitter prospects practically shriveled up. Okay, when I had 1 child, people would say, oh yeah, I'll watch Judah. Yeah, that's fine, I'll watch him. When I had 2 kids, it'd be like, your boys are good, I could watch them. That was the conversation then. Now that we have 3, no one volunteers to watch our kids. Not a single person, okay? I ask people to watch my kids, but no one says, hey, do you want me to watch the kids for you? No, nobody does that, okay? So if you were used to people saying, I'll watch your children while you go out and have fun and try to live a little bit, that's not going to happen anymore, most likely. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just how our society is set up now, where we don't really have community or whatnot. I don't know if it's the in-laws. If you have a better in-law situation, that might be different for you. But for me, all the babysitters are kind of like, yeah, you got hella kids. Like, I don't know about that. So, and then you feel guilty leaving them too, because you're like, oh man, I'm leaving them with 3 kids, especially if they don't have any. You're like, I'm leaving them with 3 kids. So, you have to make sure you compensate them for everything you're about to put them through. Now, here's a minor complaint from my personal experience of researching vacations, which is every time I look up some kind of vacation plan, it's always built for a family of 4. That's just the standard American dream of how many kids you should have. And I have 3. And so a lot of times there's either like, you can't get, like for on a cruise, for example, if you want a standard cabin, you can't have a standard room anymore. Like they say, you have to have either this family, room that can accommodate 5+, or you have to get 2 rooms. And when you have little kids, they're like, I don't want my kids in a separate room. I want everyone close to me. So that's another cost that if you plan on traveling as a family, you will have to consider. That's not so fun for your budget. And lastly, I know this video has not been very optimistic when it comes to having 3 kids, but I would not trade it for the world. That fun night out I had that I told you about a second ago, yeah, that was the biggest blessing in disguise that I didn't even know I was gonna need, okay? I love my third born. I didn't even know I needed that, needed him, I should say. So he gives me the biggest, like out of all 3 of my kids, he gives me the biggest hugs, the biggest kisses, so affectionate, and he's just so sweet. And I couldn't imagine life without him. So if you want to have a third child, a child is always a beautiful blessing. And I think you should definitely go for it. And yes, there are some cons to the situation, but overall, I would say it just makes your family more beautifully complex. That's all I have for you today, and I hope that you found something in this video useful. If you are liking the content, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.